My friend just ruined our dream weekend. Please, I really need advice. I've made the mistake of being too shy about my value as a friend before, and people have tried to either hurt or take advantage of me. I consider myself easy to talk to and someone who absolutely loves to see her friends thrive. I hardly ever get the same vibe back. I'm friends with Sherry since back when I was super struggling. I hardly had any cash with me, had to scrape in general, but pulled myself up and started turning my life around. Sherry's husband has just dumped her, although they both admit they've been living in a long dragging marriage crisis. They separated under the same roof 8 months ago, and he just moved out. He's in a relationship with someone else. I thought finding success would help her heal. I have a business that I created and didn't hesitate to hire her. She asked to become partners, to which I agreed as long as she can bring clients. She said she would. Please note that I didn't ask her for a monetary investment. She hasn't been able to bring any clients. After years trying to launch this, I have a fair share of high-profile business contacts. Sherry has been my appointment setter, using my own contact list, for the last 3 months. I have paid her wages from out of pocket. 2 months ago, I received the news that my project was likely getting funded. I didn't tell her because I don't want to celebrate and then be disappointed. 2 weeks ago, we got a phone call to make our final presentation. Oh boy. This has ruined our friendship. I know I'm not a fancy dresser. However, I know how to doll up for important occasions. I went to pick her up so that we could attend together. Her attitude shifted the minute we got into that office. I got horrible backhanded compliments from her. She said, "Wow, that dress looks so classy. No one would recognize you." I tried to brush it off, but my heart sunk. She also asked me not to talk so much because I get very redundant. No way, I didn't get to this point by being silent. She also said no one would guess I have so many high-power business associates by just looking at me walking out on the street. I thought she was just nervous. To be fair, we were in an office where their boss is frequently on the news. Maybe she was intimidated? We get to our meeting and she was atrocious. This happened the day before yesterday. This is so fucking surreal. My friend, whom I let into my professional life and whom I've intended to help heal while thinking we could make a great team, started trying to find holes in my business plan and taking subtle digs at me. This was in front of everyone. Thankfully, the head of the office was very satisfied. When he asked me a couple last questions, she cut me out of the blue and rudely said, "Let me speak, don't interrupt." I felt like a butterfly getting squashed against the wall. I had no choice but to be classy but firm and said I got it, since it's my design. Immediately after this, she started describing herself as co-owner. The head of the office asked her role and she was like a deer in headlights. He demanded to know if she created the project or any parts of it. She had to admit that she has no real knowledge. It was a shit show. We left. I was still questioning my sanity because this is just weird. Our mood mellowed down, so I thought she was overwhelmed and that's why she acted that way. I tried to put everything in the back burner because it was done. I had planned for us to stay at a tiny hotel to celebrate that meeting, wherever it happened. Getting in front of the people in that office is always a milestone, whether we got the green light or not. I really wanted to celebrate whenever that happened, so I booked 2 bedrooms as soon as I got that call days ago. It was my treat, especially thinking that her marriage took so much from her and she was forced to give up on her own space and well-being. I booked a stay from Wednesday through Saturday. Dinner wasn't positive at all. Sherry critiqued the entire meeting. She said I looked like I wanted to make my dreams come true. She questioned why I'm dressing a certain way when I want to feel good about myself. In her own words, I'm no longer in that beauty range. I was so pissed at her aggressive behavior that I asked her to explain what she meant, but she went really quiet. Sherry started asking trick questions that I will never answer because they are trade secrets. Because I didn't answer, she said I lucked out in all my progress and that she didn't think I could get ahead from our present stage. I got a call yesterday morning from the business group. They agreed to fund my entire business plan in a 10-year phase. My lawyers have already read and approved of the contract, so I'll be signing this afternoon. This is incredibly bittersweet. The chief of staff at the office called me in private asking questions about Sherry, but I already said she's no longer my assistant. I feel awful about having to remove her credentials, work phone and computer. I need to address this with her in a civil manner, but I'm completely upset. I feel disrespected and betrayed. I don't even know how to start the conversation without getting emotional. Can someone advise? Thanks in advance. Stick with the facts on specific observable behaviors on what you found unacceptable. Keep it brief. This is not a conversation. This is the boss terminating a poor-performing employee. Don't mix friendship with work. This is your livelihood, blood, sweat and tears. You are invested. She is not. Make it formal and businesslike. You may want to consider giving her termination notice in writing, but someone else who has more knowledge and experience can validate this suggestion. The reason is to convey the businesslike severity, gravity, and finality of the termination. Don't get sucked into justifying, arguing and bringing in friendship. Keep it brief. You might even want to have your head of office there as well. Husband's business partner having an affair. Not sure if this is the right place to post this, but I'm desperate for advice. Yesterday I found out that my husband's business partner is having an affair with one of their employees. My first reaction was to immediately tell the wife. This guy is married and they have 2 young kids. He couldn't work for a long time and his wife financially supported them all. She was also supportive of all his business ventures, most of them failed. A year or so ago one of his business took off and now he's doing very well. Anyway, I think she should know. If I were her I'd want to know. My husband told me he wouldn't stop me from telling her, but to think about it for a few days as he thinks this might affect their partnership. I don't know what to do. I was thinking of telling her from a fake social media account, but I don't know if that could somehow get back to me. I told my husband I would take a few days to think about it, but my mind is made up. I'm going to tell her. I just don't know how. Any advice would be appreciated. He's having an affair with an employee? Your husband should be doing everything he can to end that situation, because his partner is opening the business up to huge liability. At the very least, your husband shouldn't want to be in business anymore with such a reckless, irresponsible person. Not even touching on the moral dimensions, I would be worried about your husband's terrible judgment. Though that leads to the question of why he's okay with overlooking his partner's behavior. My boyfriend got me a gift that's pretty clearly not for me. I'm 31F, my boyfriend is 33M, we've been together for 14 years. TLDR, my boyfriend got me a Xmas gift. It's an item he wants that I don't. How do I tackle this? Some background context I think matters is that this is not really a habit of his. It's happened a couple times before, but generally he gives thoughtful gifts. It need to be said that he has ADD, which I personally think is the culprit here. We recently had a household disaster that pretty much drained our finances. I cook and bake as a hobby, so him giving me a kitchen appliance as a gift isn't a rude thing. Just wanted to say. What I find especially frustrating about this item is the conversation we had earlier. He asked me for my one big gift for Christmas. I told him I wanted a stand mixer, but they're expensive and large and we have no space in our kitchen, so I basically said don't get that. The item he did get is an equally expensive, equally large kitchen item that I don't want, but he does. It's frustrating to receive that item as a gift. I don't want to seem ungrateful, but I really would rather not have this item at all, and if we're gonna get some big kitchen thing, of course, I'd prefer it to be the item I did want, especially if it will be presented as a gift for me. How do I address this? Update. He called me and kinda put me on the spot about it. I had texted him earlier to tell him I saw what it was. The picture was on the side of the delivery box. He said he could tell I wasn't excited when I didn't respond to his text about it. I was honest with him and told him it was a lovely thought but not really something I wanted for myself. He took it well and said we can call it like a gift for the household instead, and I can go on Amazon and pick something new I like. Thank you for the advice all. I ended up using the shit sandwich one. I'm relieved we addressed it. If this were petty revenge rather than relationship advice, I'd expect you to say you got him a stand mixer for Christmas. Tell him that him buying an appliance for himself is not something you consider being a gift to you. It's a factual statement, there should be no pushback. Tell him to return the air fryer. Is it an air fryer? They're great. This reminds me of the Simpsons episode where Homer got Marge a bowling ball and it had his name on it. FYI, I have ADHD, plus I'm autistic, and know the difference between a gift I want and a gift the person I'm gifting to wants. There is literally no ADHD symptom that would explain that. Don't blame our brains, that's just his choice. Boyfriend wants me to pay for our future kitchen. My boyfriend and I live in different states. We've been together for 4 years and have been doing long distance for about 1.5 years. He bought a house in the state he's living in and the plan is for me to move in within the next year. He's currently working on the kitchen and has been struggling financially to pay for it. He's asked me if I'd be willing to contribute. I'm very good at saving money and only really spend on rent. I also wouldn't want to move in without the kitchen done, very old and hard to cook in. He says that I should pay for it since I'm requiring it to be remodeled prior to moving in. Should I do it? It'll be about $30,000. Not unless you're getting added to the deed of the house. If he's willing to write up a contract that you're entitled to any equity you put in, maybe, but honestly that's still a pretty bad idea if you're not married. $30K in exchange for name added to the deed, sure. Otherwise he can screw right off with that thought. Absolutely not. It would be insane to contribute $30,000 to the remodel of a home that you do not own. Absolutely not. You have no financial interest in this house. Put the money into your house. No. Your name isn't on the title. Do not finance his home improvements. The plan of you moving in could change. If he wants your $, your name goes on the title before he gets any money. Absolutely do not do this, unless your boyfriend wants to add you to the deed. Would be a massive mistake.